Drive Time Live with Mark Hahn on KSCJ.
All right, the call seems like it goes in groups, right? The call is into Don Fountain, and we're going to talk about some hazards here. Now, normally you think when the hazards and things and toys or gifts that you give, maybe choking hazards for small kids. This is hazards in tech that you might have gotten too. Don is a world-recognized expert on America's high tech. Basically, he is a public safety lawyer, and he's going to talk about defective products. So we're going to have Don Fountain on with me here in just a little bit here on Drive Time Live. We're going to take a very short break, and we're going to be right back here in a minute.
We're in crunch time right now. A new administration will be sworn in soon. But as great as that is, that also means our enemies have days left to stir up trouble. That could mean a cyber attack, an invasion, or God forbid, a nuclear strike. So until the longtime bureaucrats are out of Washington, it's not worth taking any chances. That's why you need an emergency food supply from My Patriot Supply. Right now, they're offering $100 off their 3-month emergency food kit. It's got 2,000 calories per day for 3 whole months. Plenty to get you through even a prolonged emergency. All their food kits last for up to 25 years in storage. Plus, they come in rugged, weatherproof buckets. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com right now to order your 3-month emergency food kit. Your safety's worth it. Your security's worth it. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com to order your 3-month emergency food kit now. MyPatriotSupply.com.
All right, Don Fountain, waiting for that call back from Don Fountain. In the meantime, I want to tell you about Don and Larry. Talk about Don Miller, not Don Fountain, but they have Nostalgia Theater every Saturday morning, 9 till 11, and they feature some of the old-time favorites as when it comes to the old-time radio. It's Don and Larry. That is going to be tomorrow, or actually Saturday morning. I don't know why this week seems like it's already in the weekend, but it isn't. Don and Larry will tell you more about the program and some of the programs they have lined up. That'll be on the way here, too. Going to go to the phone. I believe we have Mr. Don Fountain on with us. Don, is that you?
Yes, sir. Don Fountain.
All right, good to have you here on Drive Time Live, sir. And tell us a little bit about yourself. You are a public safety lawyer, and you're more into defective products. Is this something that you've done throughout your law career, or is this a new avenue?
I've been doing it about 37 years, and I'm based in West Palm Beach, Florida, but handle cases all over the country, including in your beautiful state of Iowa.
Really? Where at?
I've handled cases in Des Moines. I've handled cases in Ames, and I also like to do a little pheasant hunting there occasionally.
All right. Well, then you probably go up to South Dakota there, too. I know Iowa has some great pheasant hunting, but South Dakota famous for the pheasant hunting. The governor usually puts on a hunt in South Dakota once a year, too, in fall. So, well, Don, it's good to have you here. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's where it is, right up around that area. So, New Year, and these are gifts. You know, people give gifts. Whatever happened? I mean, is there such a thing as the underwriting laboratories that, where you look for that stamp to know that what you have is safe? Or how do you know what you're buying is going to be a dangerous product?
Yes, there is such a thing as the underwriters laboratories, and they do a great job. But the false belief of the consumer is that every single thing we buy has been through some type of rigorous hazard analysis and safety analysis. And for the vast majority of the products we use, that just isn't true. The government really relies on the consumer to notify the government if you see something. And one of the things I'd like your listeners to know is that if you suspect you have a defective product, or you want to find out if something that is in your house is defective, there's a website set up by the government, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, called saferproducts.gov, not .com, .gov, where you can go to, you can research products, and you can also make complaints about defective products.
Now, you do high-tech products, but I also see that you recently won a verdict forcing global boat safety reforms as well. So it's about safety in one way or another. But let's talk about the high-tech side. I couldn't imagine when I talked about the UL stamp, that people trust Underwriters Laboratory to make sure that the products are safe. But when you're buying them through maybe eBay or Amazon, you might be getting them from overseas, and they may not have been checked too well from Underwriters Laboratory. Is that what you find?
You're exactly right. And I'm glad you brought up the overseas part of it, because a lot of the products that we get on Amazon and otherwise at Walmart, at the mall, come from outside the country. And a lot of those companies don't have the type of rigorous safety standards that we do in this country. And we have a new president coming into office very, very soon, and he's indicated that there could be massive tariffs on products from outside the country. So if I'm a manufacturer in China, what have I been doing ever since I heard that a few months ago? I've been trying to get my product into the U.S. before that happens. I'm not saying that they skipped safety steps along the way, but it's certainly a possibility, and it's a prime time for the consumer to be extra vigilant about what we're using.
Well, some of them have never even paid attention to the safety steps, and so then they dump the products here on the market. What types of products, what types of things have you seen that come from overseas or even domestically that people might be familiar with but never heard that there was a problem with?
Well, we've seen a whole range of products. We've seen from consumer products, exercise equipment, toys, food products, all motor vehicles, heavy equipment, machinery, hand tools, all sorts of things. I don't know if you guys like Harbor Freight or not, but they got everything that's made in Harbor Freight pretty much comes from China. We've seen some of those cases as well.
Well, we have a Harbor Freight here in town too, and I won't talk about the safety of the products there. I'm not a regular shopper there at Harbor Freight, but you're right, they are cheaper tools, and now they're on with advertising campaigns talking about they have their own name brand of tools that they put out there too. So you let the buyer beware, or let the seller beware? Are these sellers going to clean up their act if they know that they're going to be under the microscope?
Well, that's a good question. And one of the things that I've written about in a recent book is the importance of the general public reporting defects to the government, and also the importance of the underlying civil justice system. Because when a jury looks at a product and says, I think that was defective, manufacturers do pay attention to that. And it's not just the manufacturer that made the product, it's also their competitors and manufacturers in related industries. It's a very powerful message that juries send to keep us all safe behind the scenes.
My guest is Don Fountain, and Don has a new book out. It's called Defect Safety, and it draws from decades of experience protecting consumers from dangerous products. You said even food has been part of this. Your insights are noted in the book. They're relevant as far as families incorporating new devices, toys, equipment, boats. You said exercise equipment. Are there any popular holiday items that are prompting safety concerns, something more recent?
The Consumer Product Safety Commission does have a list of products that have arisen during the holidays. Typically what happens is by the time we see these, it's a little after the holidays. Unfortunately, a lot of people have a bad experience from a gift given during the holidays. We'll be seeing those, unfortunately, in the next few weeks and months. But a good place to check is the saferproducts.gov. That's the best place to go, Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Don Fountain, my guest, one of America's leading product defect attorneys, and landmark cases transform safety standards across multiple industries. So if I bought a product, whether it's exercise equipment, maybe some things might be obvious, a treadmill without the rubber treadmill on it or something. I mean, I'm making up just egregious examples here, but how do you really know that a product may not be safe? When you're using it, you might get an idea, and then you maybe stop using it. Is that where maybe you would step in, or product safety people?
Well, you bring up a good point. A lot of times, remember, we read about recalls every day. They come out time and time again. And all those products are where a manufacturer thought it's good enough, it's safe enough for us to sell. But ultimately something happened that led to a recall. And what usually happens is that a product may be safe when it's originally manufactured, but it hasn't been tested through cycle testing to see what it's going to do during the life of the product. And a lot of times wear, tear, faulty parts, improper gauges or thicknesses, improper materials lead to failures. And so if a consumer stumbles upon or unfortunately is affected by one of those things, they should report it to the government, saferproducts.gov, and also to the manufacturer. This is the genesis of every recall that we read about. So each of us, every day, are unwittingly testing a whole variety of products, from the chair that you're sitting in and I'm sitting in right now to the toaster we used this morning to make breakfast. We are part of the safety matrix in this country.
So when somebody suspects that their product is not safe, what do they do? I mean, you mentioned consumer safety. Is there a website that they need to go to, or would they contact a lawyer about these things?
The first thing to do is to secure the product. Don't just throw it away. If you see something, say something. Remember, this is the genesis of every recall. Keep your packaging, keep your instructions, keep your receipt. Next step, report it to saferproducts.gov. The next step after that, report it directly to the manufacturer. And then once those things get into the system, if the manufacturer or the government sees, Bob in Buffalo, New York, and Charlie in Southern Texas, hey, they got the same problem here. This is something we need to look into and get it fixed.
Did you ever find that maybe sometimes it's like somebody going to dinner somewhere, and they take something, they have something in their pocket, and they put it in their food and try to tell the waiter or waitress, look at what I found in my food. I want my, and I might sue. Do you find people that are trying to fraud companies, though, too?
I've heard of those. Unfortunately, in my practice, I haven't had anybody that did that, but I have heard of them. Just like everybody else, you read them on the news. And,
sure.
Those people should be prosecuted, and that just should not be happening.
So, January this month was start of a brand new year. Hopefully, a good year, even though it didn't start off nationally quite as well as we would have liked on New Year's Day. But January seems to see a spike in product safety incidents and concerns. When do you normally get involved? Do they hire you direct, or are you representing somebody else?
When we get involved, it's when someone is unfortunately injured by the product. What we're hoping is that the product defect is detected before anybody gets hurt, and the ultimate goal of this whole system is to prevent people from being injured. But unfortunately, those things happen. And when a injury occurs, they will call us and hire us. We investigate it, and if we think it's a claim, we pursue it. And if we find that there is a defect, we, of course, report it to the government ourselves. We also report it to the manufacturer, and hopefully that brings about some positive change to prevent other people from being injured.
Don Fountain, my guest, and Don is a public safety lawyer. And defective products is what we're talking about. And I know that we talked about boats. So what are cars? We hear more often than not these recalls on cars because of maybe the airbag was faulty or dangerous or something else on the car and the manufacturer. So the car, whether it's Honda or Ford or Chevy, they have a recall on that. How does that process work? Is this that enough of people have had this problem? They say, whoa, there must be really a problem. So let's bring everybody who bought that year and model have our service department look at it.
Yes, you're right. And the government has a separate website specifically for motor vehicles and motor vehicle component parts, tires, airbags, seatbelts. It's called safercar.gov, safercar.gov. And the same thing. You can go there right now. You can type in the VIN number from your vehicle and figure out if there's any recalls, any safety warnings, any technical service bulletins. And you can also, if you detect a defect in your own vehicle, you can report it right then and there. Right. We all know about some of the largest recalls in government history on motor vehicle parts, Firestone tires, Takata airbags.
Right.
We've been involved in all of those. All of those things occurred and originated in this process where the public, unfortunately, someone's injured, they report it, and that starts the recall process that ultimately benefits all of us before we get hurt.
Don Fountain, my guest here. And Don, thank you very much. I appreciate you being with me here on Drive Time Live. Appreciate the time. If you would like to pick up Don's book, it's called Defect Safety. And you can pick that up and take a look. And Consumer Reports is another good way to check on things that might give you a heads up on products that are faulty.
Yes, sir.
Don Fountain, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And Happy New Year to you. And hopefully the whole year, the rest of the year, will be a happy one. We look forward to
My
it.
pleasure. It was an honor to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Don.